sponsor Tyler's Steak, but also because they make great pizza. And you can order two topping pizzas right now, right this very minute, right here at lunchtime, which is a great time to order it, for only $6.99 a piece. So think about that. Two medium pizzas for basically $14 and change together, and you can feed your whole family for that, or your whole office, wherever you happen to be at this very moment. Let me see if I can get your comments up here on my handy electronic device. We tried this a minute ago, and I don't think anybody could hear me very good. Let's see about that. All right. I think we're working now. We okay? All right. Good to see everybody. Good to be seen, as they say. Hey, y'all, I think is how I normally kick this thing off. Yeah, take two, Jimmy Barnes says. Looks like we got everything working. We are communicado now. It's big week because it's game week, and we're so excited about it. I know you've heard from all of us at Dog Nation on our different platforms. We've heard from you. That's the way we like it. We like the interactivity, that we have in this. Cheers. Get your Dog Nation cup at dognation.com. We love this time of year because we finally get to play a game, right? That's the biggest deal at this point. I don't care if Georgia's opening against Austin Peay or if they're opening against Notre Dame. The first game is always interesting because, we're going to get some questions answered. And there's so many questions that I still have that we can't be 100% sure exactly how Georgia is going to trot out there. And so that's my intrigue. Forget the quarterbacks. Don't forget the quarterbacks. We'll start with the quarterbacks. My point on that is, there's not a lot of confusion, certainly on the hierarchy. I think we've cleared that up between Kirby, between Jake Fromm, and just, our various narratives that we've had there. It's very, very clear to me that Jake Fromm's number one, Justin Fields number two. There wasn't really going to be any question about that anyway, just based on the experience, but none of that is to say, and some of this is getting misinterpreted in some of the stuff I've said and written, that I don't think Justin Fields, living up to his billing or whatever, that's not true at all. I think Justin Fields is going to be just fine. You're going to see him play in the first game, and he's going to be really, really good for the Georgia Bulldogs. He's just not going to start in the first game, and I don't know if he'll start this year altogether. Possibly he will, but the bottom line is Jake Fromm is your number one guy. He knows what he's doing. Hello, Mary Simonton. Good to see you here. Hello, Terry Fountain, Brandon, Vernon, a lot of different people. So that's the thing about the quarterbacks. It's intriguing to figure out when Justin Fields will come in, how they will deploy him. Now, but what Coach Smart said this week was that he, anticipates just not getting him in there till, he'd let the game dictate it. I'm still not 100% sure. He said we don't have a plan, and it's hard for me to believe that with Kirby Smart. Kirby has a plan for everything. This is his strong suit. So I would imagine there's a plan to get Justin Fields in the first half, but Kirby wouldn't want to communicate that just in case Georgia struggles greatly or something like that and doesn't do as well as they want to in the first half against Austin Peay. They'll reserve the right to bring him in anytime they want to. But you're going to see Justin Fields in the game because you've got to be able to see Justin Fields play before you go to South Carolina, on the off chance that you would have to use him. I apologize. I got some whining dogs here for some reason, and I don't know why they're whining. I'm probably just hearing my voice. It's making them whine. So the rotation is not the hierarchy is what I'm interested in seeing in that. And, I would imagine we'll see them both early in the game. And as far as, same thing kind of with the running backs. I think there's a chance that Elijah Holyfield could start rather than DeAndre Swift. I don't think, though, that the overall that DeAndre Swift is your primary back is going to stay. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that. So how the backs rotate is going to be an interesting shakeout for me as well. Again, I think based on the competition, and obviously it's Austin Peay. Georgia is playing 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. Of all things, pretty crazy that Georgia's playing ESPN at a 3:30 start. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me take care of this, and I'll get you. I apologize. This has never happened before. They're normal. My dogs are always here when we're hanging out. Their names are Baxley and Watson, and I don't know what has them all up in the lather. Maybe they're excited about the opening game as well, so they're trying to do their best bark, their bulldog barks. But anyway, back to I think we're going to see all of Georgia's backs. Based on the competition, Austin Peay, the governors of the Ohio Valley Conference, FCS team. Not only are they FCS team, they're traditionally not a really good FCS program now. They've done great things under Will Healy. In 2 years, they went 8-4 last year. But that represented only, if I'm not mistaken, the 11th time in the history of the school that they've won 6 or more games. So that was, I think they're going to bring, and it's interesting from this standpoint. I mean, they have a decent quarterback. I think his name is Jeremy. What did I wrote down here? Jeremiah Oatsvall. I think that's pronunciation. And they have a real good tailback. They actually had 2 good running backs, but one of them suspended for the game. So they got the kid out of, I'm trying to think, he's out of Atlanta, who is a pretty good player. And they rush for a lot of yards. I mean, they had 2 700-yard rushers last year. They're a spread option, run-based team. And, I don't know how much that necessarily helps Georgia ahead of South Carolina. But my point on that is I don't expect them to be very competitive. I think I might have seen that there was a 43-point line on the game or something like that. And that sounds about right. The score will be whatever Kirby Smart wants it to be, basically, and we'll see how that goes. So I don't think they'll be that greatly competitive. But there's so many things to see from the Georgia sideline. Clearly on defense, a lot of unresolved issues. That's where most of the intrigue is for me. Starting at inside linebacker, I hope you've been following the Georgia Zone Credit Union on the East season preview series that I've been running. Number 2 ran today. Number 1 will run tomorrow. I'll let you have a wild guess who the number 1 reason Georgia will own the East is in 2018. Number 2 was Jake Fromm, which ran today. And, the number 3 or 4, I guess, was number 5, I believe it was number 4, was Monty Rice, the inside linebacker. He is, and I'm going to take your questions here. I've got them coming up. I'm just getting those in a minute. But he is the heir apparent to Roquan Smith. Like that will linebacker. He's most physically like him. He's a sophomore. He played, a lot more than anybody else as a true freshman last year. Where's the number 32? Be looking for him. But, I mean, based on what we've been seeing in camp, it looks like Tay Crowder and Natrez Patrick might be your first 2 linebackers, first 2 in there. That's been the case in most of the drills, and that might just be a seniority thing. But, I mean, we even saw it in the open practice. We saw it in G-Day game. Monty Rice was with the number 2 defense running with Juwan Taylor, and you had Tay Crowder and Natrez Patrick running with the number 1 defense. Those guys are markedly different than what you had last year with Roquan Smith, and Reggie Carter a lot of the time playing together because Natrez Patrick was out. I don't think there's much of a doubt whether Natrez Patrick will play in the game. Kirby Smart still hasn't come out and said that straight out, and he said he's not going to say it straight out. So we'll see Saturday, as they say. But it appears, just based on the work they've been doing and how they've been handling the rotations, that Natrez Patrick has served whatever suspension that he needed served, and is going to play. And that's a big deal for Georgia. Clearly, he's the most experienced linebacker they have. And look, they wouldn't keep somebody around like they have Natrez Patrick. if he hadn't been, a very, very exceptional football player, and he is. Excuse me, my throat's a little scratchy here. Anyway, is Natrez Patrick disrupting the offense? Wally Roberts wants to know. I don't know. As you know, some of you people get mad at me when I talk about practice access. We just haven't had much. I sort of make fun of it. And I also put it out there for context, so that you know that when I'm out there for 6 minutes and 45 seconds and I'm shooting pictures, it's not a whole lot that you can draw from the team. And, that's just the way Kirby is. That's fine. I'm not crying about it, as people say. I'm not whining about it. I am a journalist, and I'm going to chronicle it, So if we get 6 minutes, I'm going to say we got 6 minutes of access. We got 11, 12, 15. That's about the most we've gotten besides one open practice. I'm going to put it there. But my point of answering your question is that actually what we've heard more is about really Georgia's run game and offense kind of busting some long ones against Georgia's defense. So I don't know if that's a concern for the defense. Look, here's the bottom line on Georgia's defense. I don't think there's any way that they can be as good as they were last year. Now, I may be wrong about that. Georgia's clearly recruited hard and recruited well on the defensive side of the ball, but that was a special group that just went out, starting with Roquan and Reggie Carter on the inside, Lorenzo Carter and Davin Bellamy on the outside, Trent Thompson, John Atkins on the line. That's a special group. Georgia has 4 starters back technically from that. Now, they have more players who played a lot than that, starting with, Tyler Clark was a starter. Jonathan Ledbetter was a starter. David Marshall rotated in and out of there a lot. Julian Rochester played all the time. So I'm not – and I like Georgia's OLBs. They're outside linebackers between certainly Walter Grant and DeAndre Walker played a lot last year behind Bellamy and Carter, but Georgia's also recruited they probably have more 5-stars. They do have more 5-stars, I think, at that position than any, maybe with the exception of tailback. So the area of real concern for me on the Bulldogs heading into the season is inside linebacker in the secondary. I think the secondary will eventually shape up. It's interesting now. Probably the most intriguing character back there for me right now is Tyson Chandler. Obviously you guys know that he was an exceptional signee out of Miami, and he's going to be Tyson Campbell. Excuse me, I don't know why I said Tyson Chandler. Isn't there Tyson Chandler somewhere? So anyway, little brain freeze there, but. No, I think Tyson Campbell, it's interesting the way Kirby has answered questions about him. On one side of his mouth, he kind of talks about that Mark Webb and Eric Stokes are kind of solid at that cornerback opposite DeAndre Baker. But in another breath, he'll say, Tyson Campbell's looked really, really good in camp. And he's really, really fast, and he's got, great speed, better speed than anybody, the speed to make up some ground. And so, I think that might eventually end up being his position. The rest of it's pretty solid. I mean, I think DeAndre Baker is definitely going to be, everything we think he's going to be after Kirby kind of questioned that early in the year. And I definitely think that, J.R. Reed and Richard LeCount are solid as your safeties. O-line, I'm like most people, which is surprising when you lose, Isaiah Wynn to the NFL draft in the first round. At left tackle, that your D-line could actually be better. Now, there's no guarantee that Andrew Thomas is going to play as well, certainly as Isaiah Wynn did. That's a big leap to make that guess. But he's been everything that and more that we thought coming out of high school, coming out of Pace Academy, and I expect him to handle that well over there. Ed Mattingly said UGA's defense is going to be better. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I just think Roquan Smith's not there. You're going to have a drop-off at inside linebacker to start with. D-line, maybe you're the same. Secondary, I think there's going to be a drop-off. I don't care how well you've recruited. That's next to quarterback. It's the hardest position to make a transition from high school play. Now, that's just my opinion, but this is called Fowler's Take, right? So that's what I say about that. What else? The O-line overall, though, 16 of those guys over there, 14 scholarships, I think it is, or so. A lot of moving parts. So Mike Griffith and I will be feverishly scribbling down who's playing what, on the first team on Saturday, and put down our first team. Mike Mizell wants me to compare this year's defense to last year's, which is kind of what I'm doing. I mean, Dominic Sanders and Aaron Davis. I mean, they might not have been all-world players as their NFL status would indicate, but they also were. Both of them played almost every game possible in their 4-year career. So that's what you had back there last year. You're replacing one of those with Richard LeCount, who played in a smattering of games last year, no starts, and then J.R. Reed, who was a fantastic, but it's just his second year as a starter as well. So just not the amount of experience besides DeAndre Baker. O-line, Andrew Thomas is new. Isaiah Wilson is new. Ben Cleveland's fairly new as a starter. Kendall Baker, I think, is solid as the left guard, though you've seen a lot of guys rotate in and out of there, including Mari Sawyer and Trey Hill and all those guys. So that's going to be interesting. A lot of the questions, though, are still seem to be focused on the defense here. And as Wally Roberts points out, nose guard is very important playing 3-4, and it sure is. And that's, John Atkins might have been one of the underrated players of all time for Georgia last year in his ability to kind of tie up the middle of the defense and keep linemen off of Roquan Smith. And he had a hard time getting on Roquan Smith as it was, but he was very, very difficult to handle. You could not handle John Atkins one-on-one. Julian Rochester is different as a nose guard. He's going to get the start Saturday. He's not 320, 330 pounds like John Atkins was. I talked to him the other day. I think he said he was right around 300, maybe under, maybe 290s or something. He actually lost weight and wants to play at that size, and which is going to be different. The same way we were talking about those two big linebackers in there, that's going to be different as well. So Georgia may look a little different. Now, they have the option to go a little bit bigger in there, and big Jordan Davis, the signee out of Charlotte, North Carolina, listed at 6'6", 320. He reported actually at 6'7", 345, or right before he reported he was 6'7", 345. I know because I visited him in Charlotte for the Next Generation series. It's going to start running during the season, and he had actually grown an inch and showed me in the locker room his height. He's actually 6'8", including that he's got one of those spiky hairstyles, and he's comported himself well also. I mean, he's looked really, really good in the weight room. Something they've been very pleased. The difficult part for a guy that big playing defense is learning to play low and getting under people. I think Julian Rochester has played a lot of ball the last couple of years, and he doesn't work nose guard exclusively. He pops out there to tackle. The real X factor on the defensive line is Jay Hayes, and that was just a unbelievably valuable get for Kirby Smart. I think bringing him in from Notre Dame is going to help sort of fill a lot of the voids over there. He's a putty guy working at defensive end, at defensive tackle. They can move him all the way inside if they want to. And same thing with Jonathan Ledbetter and Malik Herring. They can pop outside, pop inside. Walter Grant at outside linebacker can pop back there to star if needed. D'Angelo Gibbs, I think, is going to play in this game. Hasn't officially been cleared, but nobody has. So we'll be looking for number 8. And, oh, gosh, how do we get to this point, not even talking about Demetrius Robertson yet? That'll be his debut in a Georgia uniform. I don't think you'll see Terry Godwin play. He's going into the game questionable with a calf strain. But I think that Georgia's going to hold him out. Obviously, we all know what Terry Godwin can do, and he's been struggling with a knee injury, now a calf, and they just got to get him healthy because they know what he can do. So, I mean, I think Demetrius Robertson may get a lot of those reps, certainly initially, but there's 16, 18 wide receivers, and they're only going to take, no more than 8 or 9, and probably, usually not more than 8. And for the 70 they put on the bus for the South Carolina game. So that'll be fiercely competitive among those wide receivers to try to look good in the game. Who else do we have here? Bryce Dixon is on here, of course. Thank you, Bryce, man. Probably one of our most loyal Dog Nation readers. Always participates with everything. Tell me what you think about this particular slot. This is going to be the slot, as I understand it, going forward for the fall. We've got a lot of things still that we're going to roll out for you on Dog Nation, including the Chip and Griff show, which debuted this week. But this is going to be the time every Thursday at lunchtime. Makes a lot of sense there. Marco's Pizza, Tower Steak brought to you by Marco's Pizza at noon to 12:30 to 1, every Thursday. And so that's going to be good. Jeff Sanders says he's really jacked up about Saturday. He's telling me, I guess, but I'm going to tell everybody, come to his tailgate, Psychology Building parking lot. That's a good area to tailgate in. I've been over there many times. I actually know a lot of those people who tailgate over there, the Psychology and Journalism Building. Otis Reese is all Carlos. Jamal Dennis is just Otis Reese. Yeah, Otis Reese is going to get snaps at the Star, it looks like. He's working the safety in Star. And he kind of works in the, Berg explained this week that you have a Star that's kind of a linebacker and you have a Star that's kind of a safety. He's actually a Star that's a little bit more of a linebacker, but he also plays safety. I think you'll see Otis Reese play a lot. And then also, what other freshmen are we going to see out there? There's the other defensive backs, guys like Amir Speed. I want to see what all the fuss is about Eric Stokes. He made a big move from the beginning of the camp to the end of it. Tyreek McGee is not going to play. I think otherwise you would see him a lot. And then that man that Connor Riley is showing you on the screen now, Jake Fromm will be out there to show his stuff. And so there's a lot to see, even though it's Austin Peay. One thing to hang around at least a halftime for is, if you haven't read our updates about it, Landry Ergel is the daughter of an Austin Peay assistant coach, and it just turns out that a couple of weeks ago they started a campaign for them. She's dealing with a really, really rare genetic disorder that has absolutely pretty much bankrupted the family. And they had not been public about their financial struggles until a couple of weeks ago. And a couple of Georgia guys from Cairo are friends with the Austin Peay place kickers from Cairo, and then that sort of started a social media attention getter on the For the Love of Landry movement. And actually, Georgia at halftime on Saturday, I believe the Ergels are going to show a thank you video on Georgia's new 30% larger Jumbotron, and actually come out on the field and say thanks. Georgia people, you guys, Dog Nation out there. When I wrote that story, I guess it was last week before last, whatever, when I first wrote it, they had raised $22,000 of what was a $41,000 campaign. Now they have raised over $101,000. And last time I checked, it was 115 maybe, and they're trying to get to 125 or so. And the reason is that's how much they think they need to put in the trust to take care of Lindsay. Little Landry, of her needs for the rest of her life, which may not be long. So that's something to look out for. And then of course, so tomorrow, normally Friday's a pretty slow day around Dog Nation, and for all of us who cover the college beat. But tomorrow, Georgia is going to have the official ribbon cutting for the West End expansion and new locker room. That happens, I think, at 10:30 in the morning, and there's actually a board meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Griff's going to take a little time off. He's been humping pretty hard. We all have, but so I'll be handling all those things for us. And then, of course, Saturday we'll start very, very early. You'll probably start reading new Dog Nation content not long after noon or so when we get to the stadium, and start filing our updates all the way through to probably 10 or 11 at night. So be sure and download your Dog Nation app so you can get notifications anytime that stuff comes, and you can get it on your phone, and you don't have to be attached to a PC or whatever to be able to read Dog Nation. You can get that stuff straight to your smartphone. So I'm just about out of time here. Thank you so much. It looks like a good video. You guys showed up for this. Hopefully more will as we make this our regular slot. That's what it's going to be. Real quick answer here. Mike Massey will do some rapid fire. Mike Massey wants to know about Devod Wilson and his ACL. He did tear his ACL. Or no, he did not tear his ACL, MCL injury. He is almost all the way back. You will not see him play in this game, but I think you'll see him play this season. Shaquanda Baker is here, y'all. That's Roquan Smith's aunt. She's a wonderful person. And hello, Miss Baker, and we're all pulling for Roquan. Glad he got up there and got what he deserved. And Jesse Carl Johnson says he can't wait to see D-Rob, what he does against South Carolina. So you got a lot of questions here. We'll answer them. We also have the Ask the Experts feature going on, and also read the last please of the On the East season preview series. Jake Fromm up there today, and tomorrow you get to see the big reveal. Who's the number one reason Georgia will own the East in 2018? I need to get out of here. I have some more work to do. I have to take care of these dadgum dogs. But again, for Marco's Pizza, America's #1 pizza company, where you can get $6.99 medium 2-topping pizzas, 2 of them for $6.99 each every day. Please, y'all, patronize them. They're a great friend of Dog Nation. And thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to be back here every Thursday at 12:30, God willing, and the schedule allowing, every week. And so for Connie Riley back in the studio and the whole Dog Nation team, until next time, we'll see y'all.